Okay then, everyone, settle down. Settle down. Shut up! Thank you. Got a lot to discuss. Sorry if that was a little bit rude, everyone. I'm just a wee bit on edge at the moment, as are you, judging by the comments on Sunday's video. Sorry, it went out yesterday. I guess we kind of have to do these videos after tough Celtic defeats. We're not used to them, which makes it harder. I'm sure if you went on to like a Rangers YouTube channel, for example, they'd be pretty good at doing these because they get a lot of experience. We don't have that, so I don't know, it might be a little bit disjointed today. But yeah, we're going to discuss Saturday's game. Got a pile of your comments on various issues with the team that we can discuss as well. However, going to start with some good news. Yes, I am going to be doing videos all throughout the summer. That's not good news, that's just irrelevant news, isn't it? Okay, some actual good news then. We found out over the weekend that we will be seeded for the UEFA Champions League playoff round. That is genuinely quite good news. It is because Dinamo Zagreb did not manage to win the Croatian league and they've therefore dropped out of the Champions route. So as we consult the 8 danger teams graphic for the final time, Zagreb were the crucial 4th team to drop out of contention. And just as well with both Copenhagen and Ferencvaros winning their domestic leagues this weekend. So Copenhagen, Ferencvaros and Crvena Zvezda, aka Red Star Belgrade, all won their domestic leagues. Crucially though, we won't be able to face any of those teams now in the playoff round, given that we're seeded. So what we can say for sure is that it won't be Celtic versus Bodo Glimt, it won't be Celtic versus Copenhagen, it won't be Celtic versus Ferencvaros, and it won't be Celtic versus Crvena Zvezda. Very good, Hamish. Who will it actually be then? Well, you might have seen some stuff online with kind of titles like the 5 teams Celtic could face in the UEFA Champions League playoff round. The truth is that we don't know for sure at this stage because there's still some things to be sorted out. The earlier rounds, for example, there could be certain teams who would be expected to go through who are eliminated, and that would affect things for us. But we do now know that Celtic will be seeded. And at the moment, assuming that the team with the higher coefficient wins every tie, some of the potential teams that we could come up against include Basel or Bâle, the Swiss champions, Sturm Graz, the Austrian champions. Now, those two will start in the same round as us. So assuming that, I think without getting too complicated, assuming that none of Crvena Zvezda, Ferencvaros or Copenhagen lose in the second round, which you'd kind of think all of those 3 would go through, then I think that would basically mean that Basel or Sturm Graz would be potential opponents for us. Some other potential opponents who enter at an earlier round, so it's kind of less concrete, these ones. Maccabi Tel Aviv. Oh, that was a gulp, by the way. Slovan Bratislava, who we played last season, Karabag, who we played a number of years ago. Other potential opponents include Dynamo Kyiv, Lech Poznan, Rijeka, Ludogorets, Malmo. So much of a muchness there. I mean, toughest teams we could face, potentially Basel, who have Albion Ajeti playing for them. Xherdan Shaqiri have just won the Swiss League. But clearly not a bad place for us to be. I mean, I know there's a bit of debate, does being seeded actually matter? I would say it does because, well, for one, we know we're not going to face Bodo Glimt again, which is probably a good thing. Red Star Belgrade, for example, as well, we can't face them. Still going to be a real tough tie for us, but you would rather be seeded than not be seeded. So a bit of good news. Just a reminder that the draw for the playoffs will be made before the previous round has been played, so there's going to be a few R's, X or Y in the draw for us, so we might not even know up until I think a week or so before the actual match exactly who we're going to play. Final thing in this, you may be wondering, does being seeded mean that you're guaranteed a home second leg? No, it doesn't. Yeah, basically UEFA take one ball from the seeded bowl and one ball from the unseeded bowl, put them into a third bowl, and then whatever ball comes out first, that team has the first leg at home. So we don't know. There's still a 50-50 chance of the first leg being at Celtic Park or second leg being at Celtic Park. I guess you'd want the second leg at Celtic Park. Is it a huge factor? I'm not so sure. I always think having the first leg at home means you can maybe get up a good advantage to go through in the next leg. Certainly I've seen Celtic win ties having had the first leg at home, and I've seen us lose them when we've had the second leg at home. So yeah, I think being seeded is the big thing here. A bit of good news, everyone. Yay. Today's show has been created in affiliation with NordVPN. I'm sure you'll know this by now, but just in case you don't, a VPN is a virtual private network. It secures your connection, giving you protection. Wrote that myself. Online. A VPN can also make your phone or laptop appear like it's in another country. It's pretty cool and allows you basically to trick your internet into thinking you're somewhere else. That's how I was able to watch a rerun of Saturday's Scottish Cup final on the BBC iPlayer, even though I'm in Australia. And I'm so glad I watched that rerun. Great stuff. Maybe you're more of a TV programme fan these days than football. Who even likes football these days, eh? Waste of time, in my opinion. Anyway, if, for example, your Netflix doesn't have a certain show, then why not switch your location on NordVPN to another country, the United States, for example, and they may well have that show in their Netflix catalogue. So it's pretty cool. Have I sold it to you yet? Yep, good stuff. Well, check out our link, which is nordvpn.com/CelticAM. I believe you can get up to 70% off at the moment. They've got some free mobile data involved there as well. nordvpn.com/CelticAM. And if you're incredibly lazy, like me, the link is also right at the top of the description. But it's time to discuss Saturday's game. The comments aren't a particularly happy place to be after a disappointing Celtic result. Some would call them a bin fire. I'm not going to go that far, but someone else on the Celtic AM team called them that earlier in the day. So, I guess you have to take the good with the bad, take your medicine, any other cliches at this point, and just move on. However, we did reach a real low point in the comment section yesterday when Terry Brown referred to me and Scott as Dumb and Dumber. But in a hell of a plot twist here, unfortunately for Terry, he failed to spell the word dumb correctly. Yeah, tough one for Terry. Terry, I'd say you're better than that, but I'm not sure you are, to be honest. Okay, on to the non-clown comments then. Brendan McCarthy, certainly not a clown, asking, why don't we turn up when it matters this season? Yeah, well, I guess it's a bit of a second half of the season thing. I think we're fairly good at turning up for matches in the first half of the season. I guess you're referring to Saturday, clearly, the derbies, the last 3 derbies of the season, potentially the last 4, including the League Cup final. We weren't particularly good that day either. And I guess I was kind of having a wee think earlier, is this an issue? Why is it an issue? And it's probably as simple as a lot of our big players just not performing well for these big games. Thinking back to these big games, we've conceded a hell of a lot of daft goals in them, like Saturday, for example. And I just think we probably have too many players in our team not affecting the game enough. Rather than making things happen, they're kind of waiting for things to happen. I should probably make the obvious point here that had we won the final on Saturday on penalties, we wouldn't be having these conversations. We'd be talking about the team finding a way to win again, like we did in the League Cup final. And we'd likely be feeling like, yes, there's a fair bit of work needed in the summer, but we'll probably all be a bit better for having had a break. And I do still think that all applies, as much as, losing on Saturday was clearly, a bit of a gutter. I don't think it's actually changed too much how I feel about this Celtic team, good and bad. I don't think I've found out anything on Saturday that I didn't really already know. And equally, I think a lot of the good things we've seen this season, I don't think they're just simply null and void just because we lost on Saturday. I think this is a good Celtic team, which still has some weaknesses. I think centre of defence is still an issue that's not been sorted. I think the striker stuff is clearly an issue. And that's not just putting it on Adam Ida. I just mean more how we allowed ourselves to get into this position where, we let Kyogo go, don't replace him, etc. I think we need to sign a striker in the summer. And also, I think Nicholas Kuhn is a bit of an issue as well, and we kind of need to work out what's happening there. Can we get him back to, the level we saw at the first half of the season, or is it time to try and get a good fee for Kuhn and move him on? But I also think it was still a successful season, and I think as fans, we have a realistic right to expect Celtic to be better next season. Kieran Tierney's going to help that, but I think, other players are needed as well. But yeah, there's no doubt, it actually isn't something I'd certainly consciously been aware of, the fact that we do seem to have a bit of an issue in big games at the moment, and that's clearly something that has to be rectified going forward next season. Okay, Fall Monk is up next. Just shows how hard trebles are. You're playing against a 10-man wall. Aberdeen were happy to frustrate us, and it worked. Gutted for McGregor, gutted for us fans, but for Scottish football, nice for another team to get a trophy. Yeah, I made that point after the game on Saturday, that it was just a wee reminder to me how amazing it is that we've gone so long without losing these games at Hampden, certainly finals. Yeah, I guess it was actually a little bit ironic that I brought up that graphic the other day of our amazing record in finals and not having lost one for 13 years. And then the very next day we actually lost one. I should maybe refrain from doing that in the future. But yeah, just on Fall Monk's point, I guess losing a game like Saturday and just how quickly things can go against you. And it only ever really seems to happen in like cup semis and cup finals. I know we're only a goal up on Saturday, but it did feel really comfortable to me. It felt like we were kind of cruising as much as you can be cruising a goal up. And then obviously Aberdeen make a few subs, they change things, but really the big moment in the game is that goal we concede, which is a howler from Casper. And then from that point, it just felt like it was a proper match. And yeah, we'll probably come on to it. I think Brendan Rodgers made subs a bit early for me. I don't know if he felt pretty secure in the match and just felt like we needed some fresh legs. But I think we ended up in a pretty sticky situation. Obviously, he couldn't have really foreseen it going to extra time, although I guess that's something that should always be in his mind with it just being a goal in it. But we did end up with a situation in extra time where we had quite a kind of put-together team, didn't we? And nothing personal against some guys, but guys like Yang, Johnny Kenny, Luke McCowan, Greg Taylor playing in midfield. Is that really what you want when you're searching for a cup final winner in extra time? So I think he should have held on to his subs for a bit longer and just kind of been a bit more aware of potentially things going to extra time and not having us in that position. We also got a bit unfortunate with injuries. I also think James Forrest should have started the match as well. But yeah, the squad's a bit light at times, I think it's fair to say. Was the bench on Saturday massively inspiring? Sinizalo, Trusty, Yang, McCowan, Schlupp, Kenny, Forrest, Rouse. I mean, it's not horrendous. And I know we're missing Hatate and Jota, but there's not many players in that bench that give me, a real feeling that they were going to come on and do something major for us. And I just think it is a squad overall that badly needs some quality additions. Again, I look at that starting lineup, and even the starting lineup doesn't really excite me a lot. And I'm well aware that as fans, there's always a tendency to view like everything through the prism of the last match. So I doubt 3 weeks ago when we beat Dundee United 5-0 to clinch the league, we were looking at that same team and thinking, I don't get much excitement there. Because we were talking about like, oh, Nicholas Kuhn looks like he's back and Dyson's just amazing. And God, Adam Ida, if he really kicks on, what an amazing player he could be. And I think equally now, when you look at that, you can't afford to get too down on certain players, and I know there's always a tendency to do that after bad defeat, so I'm always wary of doing that. But I do think it's a fair comment to say that the Celtic squad is still pretty light. I think, especially in attacking areas for me, wings and a forward, it feels like when we have a couple of injuries in those positions, that suddenly you don't have too much faith in certain players coming in and being able to perform. Maybe it's fine for the average league match, but in a cup final with all that pressure against an Aberdeen team who started to come onto a game and played pretty well, for the last 10 minutes and extra time, then I think we need better there. So yeah, hopefully the club can deliver that. No jokes, please. Okay, LC2 saying, I'm 28 and the last time we lost a final I was 15. I'm 28 as well, LC. Cool, I guess. We've been so fortunate to watch a successful team, but this is just a bump in the road. I wish we had shown more urgency in the game, but it is what it is. Still a fantastic season, and we'll go again. CJC saying, this group of players has given us 2 trophies this season, and the league is the holy grail. We ran out of steam and missed Rio and Jota. We were unlucky with Forrest having to go off again. No other sub looked like they could do anything for us. We need more quality. I'm gutted to lose, but happy with our season in general. Yeah, I think overall it's still been a pretty successful season. When you look at each individual competition, I don't need to go through them. You know what happened. I think you would still mark it as a positive season. Would you have settled for that season at the start of the campaign? I think even though we didn't win a treble, I think we all would have, with the European stuff being a huge part of it. But yeah, I can't shake the feeling that everyone just kind of lost their hunger a little bit as the season went on. And yeah, maybe controversial time, even like the final weeks of the season, things just felt ever so slightly flat. Trophy Day, I've heard from a few people who were at Trophy Day and they just felt it was a little more subdued than normal. Not sure exactly why that is. The atmosphere on Saturday, I've seen a number of things online about that, and the atmosphere not being particularly great in the Celtic end. I guess that's a follow-on from the team not performing pretty well. But this isn't just a fan thing either. Like even I've not heard many people talking about this, even the celebrations from the team when they scored that goal on Saturday. I know it was an own goal, but I was kind of scratching my head going, is anyone actually going to celebrate this goal? It just feels like everything was just a little subdued for some reason at the end of the season. And this point has been pretty well covered on various Celtic forums and podcasts and whatever, but maybe it was just a bit of a perfect storm this season. We were all so invested in the Champions League campaign, and when we went out of that, we were then looking, what can really get us going now? And we were so far ahead in the league. The league was basically won from about December, if not earlier. And yeah, maybe we just lacked a bit of excitement in that second half of the season. There's no doubt that the first half of the season was amazing, and especially during that ultramarathon period when we had the games every couple of days. Like, it was like a amazing roller coaster we were on. As I say, ups and downs, just so many different matches to get excited about, especially European stuff. We had derbies, cup finals, etc. And it felt like after that Bayern Munich tie that everything just kind of went a bit flat. And I think that goes for the players as well. Celtic have to take their share of the blame for it as well. The performances after Christmas weren't good enough. There was the odd really good one. The team were in pretty good form actually leading into Trophy Day. But in the main, there was just far too many off-it performances, and the final 2 of the season kind of summed it up. Trophy Day, really poor. But you can kind of forgive that, but even more so Saturday, just a really disappointing performance and result. It was a long old season with no winter break, and I don't know, maybe, in fact, I have no doubt about this. I think we all just need a bit of a break right now. We just need a few weeks away from the Celtic stuff to kind of put that season to bed, which we'll all do pretty quickly, I think. Still a successful season, and look to the future, and hopefully, next season we can get that excitement back. And as I say, things might be a bit different. I'm not panicking about Celtic at all. I don't suddenly think like this is like the end of the road for Brendan Rodgers and the team's going to go completely flat next season. Like I do think everyone, fans, players, whoever else at the club will be reinvigorated by the summer break, and hopefully we all come back, and maybe even the fact that we lost on Saturday just adds a little bit more fuel to the fire in terms of next season, a bit more hunger for the players. We might end up not viewing it as the worst thing ever. I don't know. Maybe it just gives everyone at the club a bit of a joke to say, come on, like we need to be better. We can be improving next season again, which should always be the case, but we know what Celtic are like. So yeah, not panicking at all. I just think we need a little bit of time away to come back to the new season refreshed. Okay, next up, John Boy, talking about Nicholas Kuhn, says, all the players know what he's going to do when he gets the ball. At least 9 times out of 10, he will dribble to his left and try to cross the ball into the box. When you know what a player is going to do, it makes it a lot easier to defend against them. Yeah, I'm not totally sure what's going on with Nicholas Kuhn right now. 3 goals in his final 14 games of the season since Munich, which isn't great. Just seems to offer very little now. Pretty one-dimensional. The thing about Kuhn in the first half of the season was it was like pace, running in behind. He could go inside, he could go outside. It feels like we don't see that anymore. Now, I've no doubt Nicholas Kuhn is better suited to European football than domestic football when he has space to run into. But I feel like at the start of last season, we were seeing really good stuff from Nicholas Kuhn domestically. And at the end of the season, we really didn't. I mean, on Saturday, it was pretty disappointing. I felt personally that virtually all of our good attacks throughout the match, and there weren't too many of them, but they virtually all came down the left-hand side, whether it was Dyes and Greg Taylor linking up. That right-hand side with Kuhn and Alistair Johnson was really disappointing, especially when it had been so strong at the start of the season. So yeah, I think we need to find a way to get the best out of Nicholas Kuhn next season. And if that's not going to be possible, I think you look at potentially, which teams are interested. Not every signing has to be like an absolute total success, and that we see them at their high-flying best for Celtic consistently, and then we move them on, like Matt O'Reilly, for example. Maybe, just maybe, if a team comes in with a good offer for Nicholas Kuhn, we say, look, you were really good for us generally, but maybe it's time to get some good money for you, move you on and get someone really hungry in that right-hand side. Because I've got some doubts about Nicholas Kuhn next season on that right. I'm not sure. I mean, would anyone be totally gutted if they found out he was leaving this summer? I'll leave that up to you to answer. Right, Joe O'Donnell, throwing Schmeichel back in so early, being just back, was always going to be a risk, especially when it wasn't really necessary. Yeah, I guess it's kind of hard to disagree with that when you see the absolute howler that Schmeichel had on Saturday. Was that linked to his shoulder injury that he picked up a couple of months ago? Was it linked to him losing a bit of match sharpness from not having played in a wee while? Sorry, I know he played a couple of games prior to the final, but generally had missed a fair bit of time. Would Vil Sinizalo have made the same mistake? These are all questions that it's pretty impossible to answer. I guess it's pretty easy for us to say now, Sinizalo should have continued. Did we rush Schmeichel back? Yeah, I'm on the fence a little bit with that one. Mistakes can happen. I mean, Sinizalo isn't perfect. He did make a bit of a mistake at Ibrox that we got away with. But equally, I think I did say a couple of weeks ago, if Schmeichel isn't 100%, don't rush him back. Sinizalo was doing fine. He was getting a run of games. Schmeichel's going to be a number 1 next season. Hopefully we see plenty of Sinizalo though. So, yeah, that's pretty much all of the chat for today. At least we've got a game really soon just to get over that defeat on Saturday. Oh, no, we don't. We've just got weeks and weeks of despair. I'm kind of exaggerating things a bit. I don't know about you. I mean, there's a fair chance you are still absolutely livid from Saturday. I'm not sure I am particularly raging. Disappointed, yes. Disappointed to lose, especially a game that I felt we were in real control of, and obviously what it meant, losing out on the treble, etc. And I guess there's a part of that is that we're not used to losing finals, so it's a bit of a new feeling. But yeah, I just think we just all need a bit of a break from like watching Celtic. I think the players more than anything just need a bit of a break. As I say, hopefully we can come back refueled, ready to go, and hopefully we can start next season like we started this season. There's no guarantees there, because if you think of last season, we finished that on the highest of highs, winning the league, scoring a last minute goal to win the Scottish Cup. This season, we're finishing it on kind of the lowest of the lows in terms of losing a penalty shootout. It doesn't really get much harder than that. So it can work both ways. Do the team come back without that vigour that they had at the start of this season? Or, as a lot of us are hoping will be the case, do they come back with an extra bit of fire, having lost that final? We know that Callum McGregor will, but Callum McGregor's just one player. What about other guys in that squad? How does Nicholas Kuhn come into next season? How does Arnie Engels come back? Adam Ida, I guess, dies, and there's no real question there, but he's a guy who clearly needs a break and hopefully gets to spend some time with his family and his new kid, and hopefully he's good to go for next season. But yeah, that's where we're at, everyone. As I say, I'm going to be with you throughout the summer, so if you enjoy this kind of video, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really does make a difference. I think we're going to be talking like 5 or 6 videos per week throughout the summer. It's really just kind of June. As much as the season's just finished and the thought of the long summer ahead is a little bit daunting. It really just is June that we'll get through, and then the team will be back early July, won't they? And the competitive stuff will start right at the start of August. So we've not got too long to go, and there'll be so much we can chat about over the summer in terms of there'll be loads of transfer stuff. So there's always news with Celtic, and we can have a bit of fun as well and get the other guys involved as well. So please stick with the channel. It's much appreciated, and I'll return tomorrow.